Backwards compatibility is not all games. And you guys are going to ask, what is he talking about? I'm going to explain. What's up, guys? How are you? It's me, your boy Hebot. I'm coming back at you with another video. I am your action figure enthusiast and video game aficionado. And today I want to talk about what we've been seeing around, being thrown around for quite some time since last generation about, Xbox gamers. All they have is backwards compatibility, playing old games. And I really don't like that term, because that term is really being expressed in a very flawed manner. And what do you mean by that? Plus, I want to touch on how the preservation of backwards compatibility on Xbox differs, and it's completely on another level based and compared to what we had previously and before in the past. The reason why I say backwards compatibility are not old games, or back compat games are not old games, is because if you haven't played a game ever in your life, it doesn't matter what generation, what year it was from, to you, the player, that game will be new, and it will be a new experience. So to say that backwards compatibility games, as you see here, that this is the back compat dashboard or section in the store on the Xbox store, where it has over 700 games, right, or something like that. It's kind of asinine and kind of very big misinformation, because like I say to everyone, just because you played a game doesn't mean someone else did, and if someone else did not play it, then that means it's a new game for them. So that is why I say the preservation of what Microsoft has been able to create and done and brought to the table with Microsoft's Xbox consoles, or series of consoles, right, is absolutely amazing and absolutely incredible, and is a very consumer-friendly approach. No matter how much people try to downplay it, no matter how much people try to say that it's not needed, that it's not important, that is not entirely true. That's not true at all, as a matter of fact, in many cases. Because I know, as well as you guys know, me being a gamer that's been playing games for so many years, I have never had the ability to play and beat every single game in my back catalog or in my library, for that matter. No matter what console it is. It could be on another console other than Xbox, right? Obviously. But the point is, I've never been able to play every single game. So being able to have the freedom to just pop in a game, whether it's a disc or whether to go here on the digital front here, like you see, and look up a game like, let's say, Sunset Overdrive or Banjo, right, as you see there, that is a beautiful thing. And I'm doing it absolutely free of charge. Why? Because if I own the game already, then obviously I don't have to pay for it again. And the beauty of this format that Microsoft has set up on the Xbox storefront is that if you actually bought the game through them, in most cases, if you look at the prices, they're extremely cheap. Even the games that you look for physically, that if you go through a third-party market, are extremely expensive. They're very well priced, reasonably, and realistically, right? Because they're older games. Their value should not hold the same value that a new game does. And that's the biggest misconception that I keep hearing and being thrown around that bothers me. Because day in, day out, I hear, oh, Xbox guys got no games. All they have an Xbox for is to play old games. Yes, they might have been old releases from back years ago or last generation or something like that to that extent, right? But the reality of it is, right? Oh boy, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming in. where it looks like it's losing. If I go in and out in focus, I apologize. Is that again, like I said, not to sound like a broken record, if you never played the game, then that means it's new to you, the player. And the experience is going to be new to you, the player. And I really feel strongly that main reason why you hear this being jugged around like juggling balls is because on other consoles, they don't have that preservation or freedom. So, of course, it's easy to say, oh, backwards compat sucks. It's one of the main reasons why I say, or that it's not important, but it's one of the main reasons why I still say to this day that the Wii U is a better offering from Nintendo still to this day than the actual Nintendo Switch. Although the technology is cool and you can take it with you on the go, the actual Wii U allowed you to play the Wii 1 games, the Wii 1 store games, the Wii U games, and the Wii U store games. And let's be honest, 90% of the games on the Switch are basically Wii games that have been on the Wii U first and are now on the Switch, just with better resolution, which if they actually had the technology, they would be able to up-res them if the consoles were strong enough, or if they had forward compatibility with games. And that's where I'm going to try to get into the part where I say that the way that Microsoft approached backwards compatibility is beyond anything that's ever been done, and why it's so much more efficient and a better approach. Well, why do you say? Why you ask? You're probably asking, what do you mean? Well, for you guys that do know, you're obviously not the people that are going to ask me or ask yourself that question. But for those that you don't know, I'll try to explain as best and as clear as possible. Basically, backwards compatibility to this point always existed where you had to be obligated and forced to preserve the console that it was on, meaning keeping your old consoles. Without those old consoles, you can't play those games, whether they were digital, like in the 360 front, or the PS3 front, or whether they were physical. That's why Sony was getting such big backlash about shutting down the PS3 store. And then they decided to, you know what, let's change that. We're not going to do it. For whatever reason, they decided to do it. It was the best decision for their fan base, right? But it still doesn't compare, it comes nowhere near close what Microsoft is doing for their Xbox community and fan base. Because on the Xbox, we have what is called forward compatible. It moves and goes forward with you, the consumer, right? So what Microsoft managed to do is that from this point forward, any console they make, you take those games from all those generations and are able to play them on the new console with your new controller and your new system. And in this point, they've been able to do it where you're playing it even better than it was intended or originally presented with the original consoles that they were dedicated to, like the OG Xbox or the 360 and even the Xbox One. And that is what makes it even more of a wonderful and beautiful selling point, because it's giving you value that is unprecedented, unmatched, and like never before. It's not rocket science, people. It's common sense. It's all there. The writing is on the wall. From this point forward, any console that they make, they already made the statement and promise that these games that you see, that you own, and I own almost all of these. Between me and my boys, we own almost every single of one of these games. The ones we don't own is because we don't have no interest, because they were shovelware, or because, we have them physically. Because a lot of times we have them digital and physical, right? So that we don't have to give wear and tear on the actual disc, even though you do have the option that it doesn't spin. But basically, we're taking it out in and out of the box, putting it back in there, making sure that it's nice and fitted. That sometimes creates damage and scratches the disc. So it's not necessarily that, but it doesn't spin, so it's not going to hurt the disc. No, it's by moving it, manhandling it, that it still creates damage. And some people like to preserve their collections to look meticulously, especially my son. he's worse than a woman when it comes to that stuff, right? He gets really agitated. And I don't blame him. It costs money. It's expensive sometimes. And some of these things we cannot replace. So I go back to why, in pointing out, it's another reason. In a lot of cases, those games you cannot get again. And as time goes on, the units and the consoles that they were made for are going to be less and less available. Meaning they're going to keep getting more damaged, less parts to be able to fix them and replace them, and you're not going to be able to preserve them. And even when you put away your consoles for a long period of time, in a lot of cases, from putting it and storing it away, just the simplicity of air temperature, dust getting into them, ends up messing up the units where they don't work. They don't read the controller stopped working, or the console itself won't read the disc correctly. It happened with my HD drive with a lot of the movies. The movies, I guess the way they were printed on the disc, a lot of them stopped working based on longevity of time, temperature, and where they were being placed at. Even if you try to store them as perfectly and carefully as you possibly can, it's not something that's 100% guaranteed. So with this being in this way on Xbox now, the way they did it, the same way they're doing with their controllers and peripherals, that every controller you buy goes with you. It's going to work with every game, not just the 360 games, not just the OG games, with every game. And the beauty with the Xbox too is that when you put a controller, you can actually update it to add new features that this controller that's new might have that the old 360 or Xbox One did not have. Because the 360 controllers they're not compatible, but just, referencing, giving you an idea. But the ones from Xbox One, they do. So the DLI technology, the direct latency technology that they added and implemented on the new Xbox controller, which is fantastic because it only has like a 2 or 3 megabyte of speed, of latency. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but you guys, you know what I mean. It's that low in comparison to the Xbox One, which was up in the 20s. And so now they can just firmware update the old controllers and it works with you. It's kind of the same thing with backwards compatible with peripherals. So that's why this method is so effective. Because let's say your disc gets ruined, right? And let's say you can't get it again. Guess what? As long as it's on this list of your backwards compat games, you can buy it again for the cheap price that they give you, priced correctly and accordingly. And if you already own it, as long as you have your account, and as long as you have that account with your information, with your password that you have and you didn't forget, that's why it's always important to write everything down, you will always access your things. Even if I die, God forbid, and may He protect me, right? Anytime soon, right? If I leave this account to one of my boys, as long as they have my information, they can always access my library. And it'll be transferred to them. Or one of my girls, for that matter. It'll belong now to them. And I don't ever have to worry about it. And if I have the disc, all they got to do is put it inside the box. And voila, they get to play. That is why the backwards compatibility from Xbox and the approach that they have taken is a game changer. You no longer have to worry about keeping old consoles because it takes up space, first and foremost. And secondly, if they get scarce and more limited in availability, you don't have to worry about, well, I can't get them because they're no longer available, so I have to take extra care of the one I have, and still crossing your fingers that nothing happens with it because of the way you may have stored it, because of you moved somewhere and it might have get messed up in the moving process, or because the temperature might have messed something up inside, because the electronics inside of here, they're very prone to attract dust, right? Electricity and attracts dust, and all electronics attract a lot of dust. That's why if you ever pay attention to your unit, it always gets retarded dusty, really dusty, because it has electricity in those circuits, and that attracts dust. And in those dust, if you don't clean it periodically, those dust accumulate, and because the dust has electricity in it, will actually electrocute the chips inside and burn it, whether it's the controller, whether it's the controller, right, or whether it's the actual console. That is why I tell people that you gotta clean your console and clean your controller, more frequently, because that dust that you think doesn't create any damage actually creates a lot of damage, and it could burn the circuits in any unit, whether, like I said, whether it's the controller or the console itself, or even your TV or your receiver for your surround sound. So guys, that is the biggest difference, and that's why I say that statement of Xbox gamers or Xbox One users have the Xbox One to play old game is a fallacy, it's false, it's ignorant, and it's really, quite frankly, dumb. It's a dumb statement, because new games are games you never played, and it doesn't matter if it came out years ago. If you haven't played it, it's a new experience and a new game. That's your boy Hebot. I'm going to sign off this time. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't like the video. As always, for those who stop by and give me support day in, day out, thank you. You guys mean the world to me, because without you, I would not matter. This channel would not be sustained. And for all of you that came new and stopped by, thank you for making the time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like what I do. And if you did and subscribed, thank you so much, because I know you didn't have to, and it means the world to me. But because you did, remember, I consider you now part of my family. As always, if you guys want to follow me on any social platform, I am on Twitter under Hebot Powerful Gamer, on Instagram under C_respect. If you want to find me on any video game platform, I'm on Xbox and Nintendo Switch under Hebot8, and on the PlayStation under Alf Fell from Sky. All one word, all lowercase. And guys, as always, if you guys ever want to help me out in any way, shape, or form, because you like what I do, you enjoy my content, and you want to help me from the kindness of your heart, you know how to do it. It's all down in the description below. I have a Patreon that you guys can join if you want, and I have a PayPal page that you guys can, donate if you like. Or if you want to make a donation so I can showcase something on my channel, I will be more than happy to. It will be an honor. I will be a pleasure to. Just hit me up on those social platforms on a DM, right? Direct messaging, and we'll work out the particulars. Guys, I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Be good. And remember, backwards compatibility is amazing. Don't let anybody tell you anything different, because old games that you never played are still new games. Bye-bye.